Chains of conquest. They came from the darkness between stars, their massive ships breaking the void like obsidian blades cutting through the night. The Consortium, a collective of 7 advanced alien species, arrived with promises of peace and technological exchange. Earth's leaders welcomed them with open arms and naive optimism. The alien representatives, led by the Serpentine Vaith, spoke of galactic brotherhood and mutual prosperity. It was all a lie. Captain Maya Chen was on duty at Orbital Defense Station Aegis when the attack began. No warnings, no ultimatums, just the sudden horrifying realization that the diplomatic vessels had reconfigured into battle formations. "Multiple weapon signatures detected," her tactical officer shouted, panic edging into his voice. "They're targeting planetary defense grids." Maya's hands flew across the command console, initiating emergency protocols. "All stations, battle. Positions. Get me Earth Command now." But Earth Command never answered. The Consortium's first strike had targeted communications arrays and military command centers with surgical precision. By the time Maya understood what was happening, half of Earth's defense capabilities were already offline. Through the station's viewports, she watched in stunned horror as energy weapons lanced down from the Consortium vessels, striking major cities with devastating effect. Not to destroy, that would have been simpler to understand, but to disable. Power grids failed, electronic systems collapsed, and defensive measures fell silent. "Ma'am, we've got multiple hostiles on approach vector," her second-in-command reported, voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. Maya made the hardest decision of her career. "Initiate Protocol Omega. We can't hold the station." She swallowed hard before continuing. "All personnel to escape pods. Priority objective is to reach ground resistance forces." The evacuation alarms blared as the crew rushed to comply. Maya stayed at her post until the last pod was ready, ensuring as many of her people escaped as possible. As she finally strapped herself into the final pod, the station shuddered violently from a direct hit. "Godspeed, Aegis," she whispered as her pod ejected, tumbling away from the doomed station just moments before it erupted in a spectacular ball of plasma and debris. The pod's descent through Earth's atmosphere was a blur of fire and turbulence. Maya gripped the harness until her knuckles turned white, watching through the small viewport as the world she knew transformed beneath her. Major cities glowed with unnatural energy signatures as Consortium ships deployed ground forces. Military bases that should have been responding were dark and silent. Her pod crashed into Lake Michigan, the impact sending water rushing in through hairline fractures in the hull. Maya worked quickly, gathering the emergency pack before the pod sank completely. She swam to shore, emerging on the outskirts of what had once been Chicago. The city was eerily quiet. No sirens, no resistance, no sign of the vibrant metropolis it had been just hours before. Instead, she saw civilians walking in orderly lines, guided by hovering drones and supervised by tall, armored figures. Drazari shock troops, the muscle of the Consortium's invasion force. Each human wore what appeared to be a metallic collar around their neck, thin bands that pulsed with subtle light. As Maya watched from the shadows, she saw a man step out of line. Immediately his collar flashed brightly, and he dropped to his knees, face contorted in silent agony, until he crawled back into position. Maya retreated deeper into the shadows, a cold understanding settling in her gut. This wasn't an occupation, it was enslavement. Over the next 6 months, Maya gathered survivors, military personnel who had escaped the initial attack, civilians who had avoided processing, scientists and engineers who understood enough of the alien technology to stay one step ahead of the Consortium's surveillance systems. They learned the bitter truth of humanity's new reality. The neural collars weren't just control devices, they were sophisticated interfaces that allowed the Consortium to harness human abilities directly. Humans were being worked in mines, factories, and research facilities, not simply as manual labor but as cognitive resources. "They're farming our adaptability," explained Dr. Sanjay Kapoor, a neurologist who had been analyzing a salvaged neural collar. They met in an abandoned subway station beneath the ruins of Boston. one of several resistance hubs Maya had established across the former United States. "What do you mean?" Maya asked, studying the disassembled device spread across the makeshift workbench. Sanjay pointed to a crystalline component at the collar's center. "This isn't just a control mechanism. It's a neural interface designed to extract cognitive processes, specifically human creativity, problem-solving, and adaptability." "But why?" "The consortium is thousands of years ahead of us technologically." "Technology isn't the same as adaptability," Sanjay explained. "From what we've pieced together, each consortium species evolved along highly specialized lines. They're phenomenally efficient within their specialties but lack human flexibility and innovation." "So we're not just slaves," Maya said slowly. "We're resources." "Exactly. They're harvesting our ability to adapt, to think around corners, to create unexpected solutions. It's why they didn't simply wipe us out or replace us with automation. They need our minds." This revelation gave purpose to the growing resistance. It wasn't just about freedom anymore. It was about denying the consortium access to humanity's unique abilities they valued enough to conquer an entire planet to obtain. Maya named their movement Ember, a reminder that even the E-type smallest spark could, with enough care and patience, grow into an inferno. 1 year after the invasion, Ember had cells operating on every continent. They communicated through pre-digital means, handwritten codes, modified Morse runner networks, anything the consortium's advanced monitoring systems wouldn't think to track. They focused on 3 key objectives: freeing processed humans, gathering intelligence on consortium operations, and developing countermeasures against the alien technology. Their first major victory came when they raided a processing facility in the former Australia. The operation was high risk, but yielded critical intelligence. The consortium wasn't a unified entity. Despite appearances, the 7 species maintained separate agendas and rivalries beneath their veneer of cooperation. The Vaith, serpentine diplomats with photographic memories, managed overall administration. The Drazari, massive arthropoid warriors, handled security and military operations. The Nubari, gaseous entities contained in mechanized shells, controlled resource allocation and logistics. The remaining 4 species, Telix, Moor, Ket, and Ezen, specialized in everything from biological sciences to energy production. "This changes everything," Maya told her leadership council during a secure meeting 3 months after the raid. "We've been treating them as a monolith, but they're not. There are fractures we can exploit." Alexei Petrov, a former Russian Special Forces operator who led Ember's European division, leaned forward. "How do we use this?" Maya spread a stolen data tablet on the table. "This contains partial schematics for their neural collar manufacturing facilities. There are 13 across the planet, each controlled by different consortium factions. If we could destroy those facilities," began Khalid, a structural engineer who headed their Middle Eastern operations. "Not destroy," Maya corrected. "Modify. Dr. Kapoor and his team have been reverse engineering the collars. They believe they can alter the programming, turn the consortium's control devices against them." "To what end?" asked Fatima, a former quantum physicist who had escaped processing by hiding in the Atlas Mountains. "Even if we could reprogram the collars, most of humanity is already processed." Maya's eyes gleamed with the first real hope any of them had felt since the invasion. "That's where Project Inferno comes in." She activated a holographic projector salvaged from a consortium scout vessel. It displayed a complex neural network overlaid with what appeared to be collar schematics. "The consortium's neural collars all connect to central command hubs," she explained. "If we can modify the transmission protocols at the source, the manufacturing facilities, we can potentially send a cascading override signal through their entire network." "You're talking about freeing everyone simultaneously," Khalid whispered, awe in his voice. "Not just freeing them," Maya replied. "Empowering them. Dr. Kapoor believes we can reverse the neural interface, turn their harvesting technology into an amplification system. Imagine millions of humans, their natural adaptability and creativity not just restored but enhanced, all acting in unison against their oppressors. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. It was audacious, perhaps impossible, but it offered something they desperately needed: hope. "How do we proceed?" Alexei asked finally. "We need 3 things," Maya answered. "First, detailed schematics of all 13 manufacturing facilities. Second, access to their central programming architecture. And third, a way to coordinate AI simultaneous global assault." "That's a tall order," Fatima said skeptically. "It is," Maya acknowledged. "But we have one advantage they don't expect." She looked around at the faces of her commanders, tired, scarred, but unbroken. "They think they understand human adaptability because they're harvesting it, but they're only tapping our surface capabilities. They have no concept of what humans can do when pushed to the absolute edge of extinction." As the meeting disbanded, Maya remained behind, studying the holographic display. What she hadn't told the others was the intelligence their Australian raid had also uncovered. The consortium was planning something called final integration, D2, process that would permanently bind human neural functions to their harvesting network, rendering any future resistance biologically impossible. They had less than 2 years before humanity would be irreversibly enslaved. Project Inferno wasn't just their best hope, it was their only hope. And as Maya stared at the complex plans before her, she made a silent promise to every human still wearing a collar. The consortium had come to harvest human fire, and had never considered that they might be consumed by it instead. Sparks in darkness. 3 years after the consortium's arrival, Earth had been transformed. The aliens' massive processing centers dominated former metropolitan areas, gleaming structures of impossible architecture that pulsed with energy as they extracted human innovation and adaptability. 87% of the surviving human population wore neural collars, their creativity and problem-solving abilities harvested while leaving just enough mental function for basic tasks and self-maintenance. For the casual consortium observer, human resistance had been crushed. Reports to the 7 Species Council indicated near-total compliance, with harvesting efficiency increasing quarterly. The occasional sabotage or escape was dismissed as statistical noise, nothing that threatened the overall operation. This was precisely the illusion Maya Chen had worked tirelessly to create. Deep beneath the ruins of Denver, in a network of repurposed military bunkers and natural caverns, Ember's central command operated in carefully maintained secrecy. The facility hummed with activity as engineers reverse-engineered alien technology, communication specialists coordinated global resistance cells, and training centers prepared operatives for increasingly ambitious missions. Maya stood before a holographic map, her appearance hardened by years of fighting from the shadows. A jagged scar ran from her right temple to her jaw, a souvenir from a too-close encounter with a Drazari patrol. Her once regulation military cut had grown into a practical braid, streaked with premature gray. "Status on Facility 7? She asked Sanjay Kapoor. Now her chief of research and development consulted his datapad. "Our operative has successfully integrated into the maintenance crew. We're receiving regular data packages. The facility schematics are nearly complete." Maya nodded. Infiltrating the neural collar manufacturing plants had been their priority for the past 18 months. Each facility required a different approach as they were managed by different consortium species with unique security protocols. "And the biomimetic tags?" "Working perfectly," Sanjay replied. "The Nubari can't distinguish them from their own authorization signatures. Our people can move through secured areas without triggering alarms." This had been one of their critical breakthroughs, technology that could mimic the consortium's biometric identification systems. It had taken 3 years of painstaking work, countless failed attempts, and the sacrifice of brave operatives who never returned from their missions. "Dr. Kapoor," Maya said, "give me an update on Project Inferno." Sanjay's expression grew more guarded. He glanced around, then gestured for Maya to follow him to a more secure area of the facility. In a shielded laboratory deep within the complex, He activated a specialized console. "The prototype is functioning," he said, his voice low despite the room's security measures. "We've successfully reversed the neural interface. Instead of extracting cognitive processes, it amplifies them, specifically the portions related to pattern recognition and creative problem-solving." He displayed a series of brain scans. "This is a normal human baseline. This is someone wearing a standard consortium collar. You can see the suppressed activity in the frontal cortex and reduced connections between brain regions. And this," he highlighted a third scan showing intense neural activity and complex connection patterns. "This is someone with our modified collar." Maya studied the images. "Side effects? Some. Heightened sensory perception, occasional synesthesia. Nothing permanently damaging as long as the enhancement is limited to 60 minutes per session." "And the transmission network?" Sanjay switched the display to show a complex web of interconnected nodes. "That's the true genius of their system and their vulnerability. Every collar connects to regional hubs which connect to central command. It's designed for one-way data extraction, but the pathways exist for bidirectional communication. So if we can access and modify the manufacturing source code, we can potentially override every collar on the planet," Sanjay confirmed. "Turn their harvesting network into a liberation and enhancement system." Maya nodded slowly, the full weight of what they were attempting settling on her shoulders. "Timeline? 4 months to complete the modified code. Another 2 to distribute it to our teams positioned near each facility." "Good," Maya said. "We need to coordinate with—" An alert chimed softly, interrupting her. One of their communication specialists appeared at the doorway, expression tense. "Captain Chen, we're receiving an emergency transmission. Coded channel Ember protocol." Maya followed swiftly to the communications center, where a scratchy audio transmission was being decrypted in real time. "Contact established with Consortium Insider. Claims disaffection with current policy. Requesting secure meeting. Information on final integration timeline. Authentication code follows." A series of numbers and symbols scrolled across the screen. Maya's eyes widened as she recognized the pattern. "That's a high-level consortium security cipher," she said. "Only their leadership would have access to that." "It could be a trap," warned Alexei, who had joined them upon hearing the alert. "Or it could be the break we've been waiting for," Maya countered. She considered for a moment, then made her decision. "Arrange the meeting. Maximum security protocols. If this is legitimate, we need whatever information they're offering." 2 weeks later, in the radioactive ruins of what had once been Las Vegas, an area the consortium avoided due to persistent radiation that interfered with their sensing equipment, Maya waited with a small team of her most trusted operatives. They'd arrived through separate routes using salvaged consortium stealth technology to mask their approach. The meeting point was an old casino vault, its lead-lined walls providing additional security against detection. Maya checked her salvaged consortium pulse weapon for the 3rd time, the familiar routine calming her nerves. "Movement approaching from the east," reported Thomas, their surveillance specialist. "Single entity, matching the provided parameters." Maya nodded. "Stay alert. If this goes sideways, fall back to extraction point, Charlie. No heroics." The heavy vault door creaked open, and a figure entered cautiously. It stood nearly 7 feet tall with iridescent scales covering a serpentine body supported by 4 delicate limbs. A Vaith, one of the consortium's administrative class. "Captain Chen," the alien said, its voice modulator producing surprisingly natural English. "I am Sentinel Arbiter Zelos. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting." Maya kept her weapon at ready position. "You claim to have information about final integration." "I'm listening." The Vaith's multifaceted eyes blinked in a pattern that Maya had learned indicated discomfort or nervousness. "The timeline has been accelerated. Final integration is scheduled to begin in 63 days. Maya felt her blood run cold. Their intelligence had suggested at least 6 more months of preparation time. Why the change? The Consortium Leadership Council has concerns about Earth's harvesting operations, Production metrics are lower than projected. There are anomalies in the data streams. Some suspect organized resistance. And final integration would solve these problems? Gelos made a gesture equivalent to a nod. Once human neural patterns are permanently bound to our network, independent thought and therefore resistance becomes biologically impossible. Humans would retain consciousness but lose all capacity for autonomy. Why are you telling us this? Maya demanded. Why betray your people? The alien was silent for a moment. The consortium was founded on principles of mutual benefit and evolutionary improvement. What we are doing on Earth violates those principles. Some of us, a minority faction among the Vaith and a few from other species, believe this path leads to our own stagnation. You need our adaptability, Maya realized. Not harvested but freely shared. Yes, forcing evolutionary traits never succeeds long-term. It creates vulnerabilities. Maya processed this information quickly. What else can you tell us about final integration? It requires specialized equipment being transported to Earth. Now, the process will begin at Primary Harvesting Facility 1 and expand outward. Once initiated, it cannot be reversed. And you're willing to help us stop it? The alien scales rippled in what Maya had come to recognize as their equivalent of a sigh. I can provide access codes, security protocols, and facility schematics. I cannot directly interfere without exposing our faction. Why should I trust you? Gelos reached slowly into a compartment in its environment suit and withdrew a small crystal device. This contains the complete neural collar manufacturing source code. You will find it matches your current understanding but includes activation, pathways you have not yet discovered. Maya stared at the device. If genuine, it represented a quantum leap forward for Project Inferno. They had been painstakingly piecing together this code for years. Consider it proof of my intentions. Gelos continued. The consortium believes humans valuable only for what can be extracted from them. My faction believes your species true. Value lies in what you might become if allowed to develop naturally. After a moment's hesitation, Maya accepted the crystal. If this checks out, we'll arrange another meeting. If it's a trap, she left the threat unspoken. It is authentic, the Vaith assured her. And Captain Chen, the consortium underestimates you because they believe they understand human adaptability. They do not realize they are harvesting only its most basic expression. As the alien departed, Maya's mind raced with implications. If the timeline for final integration had indeed been accelerated, they would need to launch Project Inferno much sooner than planned, ready or not. Back at the Denver facility, Sanjay confirmed the crystal's authenticity. This is incredible, he said, reviewing the code. It contains the complete neural interface architecture, including the secure pathways we've been trying to crack for months. How quickly can you integrate this into Project Inferno? Maya asked. Weeks, instead of months, but Maya, there's something else here. He highlighted a section of code. The collars aren't just harvesting cognitive functions. They're collecting baseline data for complete neural mapping, the precursor to consciousness transfer. Meaning, the consortium isn't just planning to bind humans permanently to their network. They're developing the capability to transfer human consciousness directly into their systems, to extract not just our adaptability, but our entire minds. The revelation sent shockwaves through Ember's leadership. What had seemed like enslavement now appeared to be something far worse, the planned obsolescence of humanity itself, with only our cognitive patterns preserved as data in alien systems. This knowledge transformed their mission from resistance to survival of the species. Project Inferno had to succeed, not just to free humanity, but to ensure its continued existence. Though, next 6 weeks passed in a blur of preparation. With Gelos's information, they identified all 13 manufacturing facilities and the primary harvesting center where final integration would begin. Infiltration teams were positioned near each location, armed with the modified code that would transform the neural collars from instruments of control to tools of liberation. The plan called for simultaneous infiltration of all facilities, uploading the Inferno code to their central processors, then triggering a system-wide reset that would cascade through the entire consortium network. If successful, it would free and enhance every colored human simultaneously. 2 days before the operation was set to begin, Maya addressed the assembled team leaders via secure communication channels. "We have one chance at this," she said, her voice steady despite the enormous pressure. "If we fail, humanity as we know it ends. Not just our freedom, but our very existence as independent beings." She displayed the final operation plans, showing infiltration routes, timetables, and contingency measures. "The good news is that we have a hidden advantage. The consortium thinks they understand human adaptability because they're harvesting it, but they're only accessing our baseline capabilities, what we can do under normal conditions. They have no concept of what humans achieve when pushed to our absolute limits, when everything we care about is at stake." She looked at each team leader's face on the secure video feed, seeing determination mirrored back at her. "In 48 hours, Project Inferno ignites, and when it does, the consortium will learn what happens when you try to enslave a species that evolved to overcome every obstacle in its path. They came to harvest our fire. They're about to be consumed by it." As the feeds disconnected and final preparations began, Maya permitted herself a moment of quiet reflection. 3 years of fighting from shadows, of watching humanity's spirit dimmed by alien control, had led to this all-or-nothing gambit. Tomorrow they would either free humanity or lose everything that made them human. And unknown to them, the Consortium Leadership Council had just entered Earth's orbit, arriving to personally oversee the beginning of final integration. Flames of Retribution, the Consortium command vessel, Evolutionary Apex, entered Earth orbit with little fanfare. Unlike the dramatic arrival of the invasion fleet 3 years earlier, this ship came quietly, its presence known only to high-level consortium administrators. Aboard were the 7 Primarchs, supreme representatives of each founding species, coming to witness the culmination of their Earth operation. Final integration. Primarch Vex of the Vaith stood at the main viewport, his serpentine form draped in ceremonial attire that shimmered with embedded data crystals. Below, Earth turned slowly, its surface now dotted with consortium installations that gleamed against the blue backdrop of oceans and the green-brown patchwork of continents. "Impressive efficiency," noted Primarch Krex of the Drazari, his massive arthropod form towering over the others. 3 standard cycles from invasion to final integration. A new record. "Yet harvesting yields remain below projections," countered Primarch Zul of the Nubari, her gaseous form swirling within its containment unit. "There are statistical anomalies that suggest organized resistance." Vex dismissed the concern with a graceful gesture. "Residual human autonomy, to be expected and irrelevant once integration proceeds. Their adaptability will be preserved while troublesome independence is eliminated." On the command deck's main display, status reports streamed in from Earth's 13 neural collar manufacturing facilities and the primary harvesting center, a massive structure built over the ruins of what humans had once called Geneva. All reported optimal functionality and readiness for the integration protocol. None detected the infiltration teams moving into position. At Manufacturing Facility 7, located in former Brazil, Maya Chen slipped through an access corridor using biomimetic tags that fooled consortium sensors into reading her as authorized maintenance staff. With her was Sanjay Kapoor, carrying specialized equipment in what appeared to be standard consortium tool cases. "Security patrols in this section?" Maya whispered. "Automated only," Sanjay replied, consulting a small holographic display projected from his modified collar. Unlike the control devices forced on most humans, Ember operatives wore custom-designed versions that mimicked consortium tech, while actually enhancing rather than suppressing neural function. Central processor is 2 levels down. Similar scenes played out at all 13 manufacturing facilities as Ember teams, trained for years for this specific mission, moved with practiced precision through alien corridors. Their timing was coordinated to the second, synchronized through a makeshift network of pre-digital communication methods the consortium's advanced systems ignored as primitive and irrelevant. At the primary harvesting center, a larger team led by Alexei approached from underground, using forgotten maintenance tunnels that predated the consortium's arrival. With them was Gelos, the Vaith defector, who had provided critical intelligence and access codes. The integration. Equipment arrived yesterday. Gelos informed them through a translator device. The Primarchs intend to initiate the process within 12 hours. Then we have no margin for error, Alexei responded, checking his salvaged consortium weapon. Once we reach the central hub, how long will the upload take? Approximately 6 minutes to bypass security and upload the Inferno code, Gelos replied. Another 3 to initiate the cascade sequence. Back in Facility 7, Maya and Sanjay reached the central processor chamber, a cavernous space filled with crystalline computational structures that pulsed with soft blue light. At its center stood a control interface designed for Nubari operators, its gaseous interface posing a challenge for human users. "This is where your modifications come in," Maya said, turning to Sanjay. He nodded, opening his case to reveal what looked like a hybrid of consortium technology and human-engineered components. "The adapter should let us interface directly. Once connected, I'll need 5 minutes to upload the code and synchronize with the other facilities." "You have 3, Maya replied, keeping watch at the entrance. "Patrol cycles are shorter than we anticipated." Sanjay worked quickly, attaching the adapter to the alien interface. The device hummed softly as it established connection, its display flickering between alien symbols and human-readable text. "I'm in," he murmured. "Beginning upload." Across all 13 facilities, similar scenes unfolded. Years of preparation, countless sacrifices, and the future of human autonomy all converged on this moment. In each location, Ember teams connected to central processors and began uploading the Inferno code, the key to turning the consortium's neural harvesting network against its creators. On the evolutionary apex, the first warning came as a minor anomaly. A momentary fluctuation in data flow from Manufacturing Facility 3. "Diagnostic check initiated," reported a telex technician, its crystalline appendages moving across the control surface. "Probable transmission error, self-correcting." The fluctuation disappeared before any significant concern could develop. The consortium systems, designed to detect conventional attacks or malfunctions, weren't calibrated to recognize the subtle infiltration taking place, a pattern deliberately engineered to exploit their perceptual blind spots. In Facility 7, Sanjay's upload reached 67% completion when the chamber door slid open unexpectedly. Maya reacted instantly, moving to intercept the Drazari security officer that entered. "Maintenance authorization?" the massive arthropod demanded, compound eyes focusing on Maya with suspicion. She presented her biomimetic tag, keeping her body positioned to block the Drazari's view of Sanjay at the central interface. The alien scanned the tag, mandibles clicking as it processed the information. "This sector is not scheduled for maintenance," it stated, reaching for its weapon. Maya moved faster, activating her modified collar. The device pulsed once, amplifying her neural patterns, specifically those governing reaction time and spatial awareness. To her enhanced perception, the Drazari's movements seemed to slow, giving her precious fractions of seconds to respond. She struck precisely at junctures in the alien's exoskeleton, targeting nerve clusters identified through years of studying, captured consortium biology data. The Drazari collapsed, stunned but not dead. "How much longer?" she asked, turning back to Sanjay. 89%, he replied, fingers moving rapidly across the interface. "Just a few more seconds." At the primary harvesting center, Alexei's team faced heavier resistance. The facility's security had been enhanced in preparation for the Primarch's arrival, with additional Drazari patrols and automated defense systems, pinned down 2 corridors from the central hub, Alexei reported through their secure channel. "Need alternate approach." It was Gelos who provided the solution. "Auxiliary processing conduits," the Vaith suggested. "Designed for emergency system access. Too small for Drazari, but humans could navigate them." With the Vaith's guidance, Alexei and a smaller subset of his team accessed the conduits, narrow tunnels that connected different sections of the facility. They crawled through the cramped spaces, emerging directly into the central hub where the integration equipment had been installed. Begin the upload, Alexei ordered, as his team secured the room. We'll hold this position as long as possible. On the evolutionary apex, multiple warning indicators suddenly flashed across control stations. The anomalies could no longer be dismissed as transmission errors. Unauthorized access detected at manufacturing facilities 3, 7, and 12, reported the telex technician, its crystalline structure flashing with alarm patterns. Primarch Krex moved to the command station, mandibles clicking rapidly. Security breach. Activate all defense protocols. Too late, Primarch Zul observed, her gaseous form swirling more rapidly within its containment unit. The interference pattern is spreading through the network. It appears to be self-propagating. In Facility 7, Sanjay's upload completed successfully. Done, he announced. Initiating synchronization with other facilities. Maya checked her tactical display. 8 facilities confirmed, 3 still uploading, 2 uncertain. We don't need all 13, Sanjay reminded her. The system is designed to self-correct by propagating updates across the network. As long as the majority of facilities receive the code, it will spread. Then let's not wait around to see the results up close, Maya said, retrieving her equipment. Extraction. Route now. As they moved swiftly through the facility corridors, alarms began to sound. A harsh pulsing tone that indicated high-level security protocols had been activated. But something strange was happening. The consortium staff they encountered seemed disoriented, their movements uncoordinated. The code is working, Sanjay realized. It's affecting their integrated systems. Maya nodded. The consortium's greatest vulnerability was how deeply they had connected themselves to their technology. The same neural interfaces they used to control and harvest humans also linked their own consciousness to their systems. As Project Inferno rewrote the fundamental protocols of that system, it created cognitive dissonance in any consortium member connected to the network. At the primary harvesting center, Alexei's team completed their upload just as reinforcements breached the central hub. A firefight erupted, with Ember operatives using salvaged consortium weapons against Drazari security forces. Cascade initiated, reported Alexei's technical specialist. The code is propagating through the network. Across Earth, in processing centers and harvesting facilities, something unprecedented began to occur. The neural collars worn by billions of humans, devices designed to suppress and extract, suddenly shifted function. Instead of dimming human consciousness, they amplified it. Instead of extracting creativity and adaptability, they enhanced. Humans who had moved in dull compliance for years suddenly straightened, awareness flooding back into their eyes. The cognitive fog imposed by the collars lifted, replaced by heightened perception and processing speed. And with that awareness came understanding and rage. On the evolutionary apex, chaos erupted as systems failed across the ship. Displays flickered between normal function and complete gibberish. Environmental controls fluctuated wildly, and security protocols activated and deactivated randomly. "What is happening?" demanded Primarch Vex, his normally calm demeanor cracking as the ship's artificial gravity wavered. "The human neural network," gasped a Nubari technician. "Something has inverted the flow. Instead of harvesting their cognitive functions, our systems are being overwhelmed by them." On the main display, surveillance feeds from Earth showed the unthinkable. Humans ripping off their collars, or more disturbingly, keeping them on and using their enhanced capabilities to overwhelm consortium security forces. Processing centers that had operated with ruthless efficiency for years were now overrun by the very humans they had controlled. "This is impossible," Primarch Krex seethed, his massive form trembling with rage.